Hey guys, welcome one, welcome all. I hope we're all well. And today we're going to do a bit longer video. I think a little bit of a discussion. And because the last few videos I've talked about 3 ways to assist with various things. And this video today I want to talk about inner child and inner child trauma and how it can affect us as we grow up, as we move through life, and especially so if these issues aren't healed. I might pull a few cards, so I'm just getting the tarot deck ready as well. But yeah, how these issues can affect us if they aren't healed. So basically, what is the inner child? So the inner child is that kind of playfulness that we have within each and every one of us. It's an element of joy that we can find within the simplest of things, because really when we think about being a child, we look at the sky in different ways. We look at the clouds and we make shapes out of clouds. I'm just going to pick these up. We look at different colours. We have such vivid imaginations, and we can let children let their imaginations go wild, and they can create really quite wonderful worlds and just ways of seeing things and manifest and almost bringing those things into an element of reality, and it isn't far off manifestation. It really isn't, because children can make a broomstick become a horse, and you can become a knight on a horse, and you can ride over hills, you can go into battle, on a broomstick. But within that inner child, within the imagination, within the element of play, within the element of joy, and within that frequency within the mind that creates such vivid things. So when we're connected to the inner child and we bring that element of play within the now, within the current world, it really does help to alleviate a lot of stress. It alleviates a lot of it takes away a lot of belief structures as well, the belief that you have to do this and you have to do that. And someone that is kind of quite strongly connected to their inner child may have really strong leanings to do certain things that most people would think, well, that's a bit like balmy, because by that point, you might be grown up, you might be into adulthood, but you still want to keep hold of that inner child and allow it to show, allow it to be, allow yourself to be a free spirit. It's about being free spirited, basically, and having that element of play and joy within each and every single day. And that comes with balance as well, because we can't be in that way all the time. Especially not if we're in conversation or deep connection with other people, where it might be in quite a heavy corporate world. But you'll probably find that most people that have this inner child that is yearning to be out might not feel a connection to that line of work. They might want something more creative, more spontaneous, something that's not as rigid and as structured, and they just want to be able to go with the flow, and that's what this inner child energy really is. It's about going with the flow and just using your imagination, being creative, and having this real passion, this real zest for something within life that creates this buoyancy, this aliveness, this alertness, this way of being within each and every one of us. And we all have it. We all have this inner child within us. However, there are exceptions. Sometimes that inner child can be traumatized. There can be trauma that is picked up from that childhood, from those early years of becoming a person, of becoming that identity, I suppose, within that life. And there are so many different things that can happen in early childhood that can create these various traumas that we can carry into later into life. And if they're not healed, and if they're not kind of exposed and released and gone through the various layers of healing that they need to go through, then these will just continue, and they'll become, they will probably get worse throughout life, and there will be deep patterns within your life that you may start to experience and see things happening that will become just like, there'll be certain things that will set you off and make you react in certain ways, and you may start to question things. You may start to question everything that you start to see, believe, or understand, because it's all becoming quite cyclical. It's going in these circles of events, of happenings. And that's kind of like when you start tapping into shadow work, because you start looking at these events that have been taking place, that where there is a message within them, and there is an element of something that needs to be healed within that element. So that's kind of like what I wanted to talk a little bit about today, about the inner child. So we've covered kind of like the inner child and what it is, and how we can bring it into everyday life, and how we can just bring a little bit of play into each day, bring a little bit of joy, bring a little bit of love, bring a little bit of happiness into each day to affect not just yourself but those around you as well. But the trauma that we can carry throughout life, and we will all subconsciously at some level have some level of trauma that we've carried, whether it's from the womb, so you can carry things from before you're actually born. There will be something that the mother may have gone through that will have genetically had an effect on you while you're going through your growth, while you're going through your development of becoming a baby or a being within the womb. But the trauma can also go back to past lives and to previous lives, which is a lot more interesting, because then you start to look at, I find, or what I have found is, there's a great, although we often talk about being present and being in the now and what have you, but there is a great correlation and connection between your past lives and your present life and your healing journey. And you may often think, well, why do we always talk about past lives, and why do we always talk about like things that have happened and things that have been gone when we need to be present? Well, we do need to be present, we need to be aware, and we need to be in the now. And sometimes that element of being aware and being in the now can actually reveal and expose things that have happened and have taken place in the past or within past lives, that are bringing you a message in the now. So the more you are aware now, you will be aware of those messages that are being brought to you now, because of your level of awareness, because of your level of connection to your soul, to your inner voice, to your inner guidance. And that inner voice, that inner guidance might be giving you messages and showing you things that are repeating patterns that make you start to look at past events or past lives. And so the past lives thing, when you can carry trauma from past lives, from past incarnations of your lives, wherever you may have been. You may have been a Native American, you may have been in Greece, you may have been in Rome, you may have been the Egyptians, you may have been Syrian, you may have been Lyrian, you may have been from Atlantis, and all these different civilizations that have been and are still around genetically within each and every one of us. And we carry that energy within us, within our genetics, within our DNA. And the family that is around you has been with you all those lifetimes, but in different incarnations. So your mother that you have now may have been a friend, may have been a lover, may have been a father, may have been a brother in a past life, but they've all followed you through from past lives into the now, because they all have a soul contract and they all have a soul purpose that they need to follow. And there's elements within their soul. So if they're your mother now, they may have been, say they were a father or a brother in a past life, but they may have been a father or a brother in a past life because they need to understand how that works, how that energy works with being a father or a brother or a friend or whatever. And there'll be something within that life, within that existence, that they need to learn to then move them through into this life where they become a mother, where they now need to learn about this element of something that needs to be healed from a previous life of being a mother to coming into this life. So it could be the fact that they need to heal a trauma from a birth in a previous life, and they've come into this life to then heal that element and heal that trauma, that birth energy in this life. And by healing that, they give birth to the person, you, me, whoever, and then because they've got that genetic, that DNA, that energetic construct within themselves, this is getting quite deep, this one, because they've got that energetic construct within themselves, they are then kind of assigned on their soul journey, because of that trauma from then, from that past life, from that mother that's come into this life, that's given birth to you, for then you to heal and find your healing journey and find your healing path in this life by discovering yourself, discovering shadow work, discovering inner child trauma, discovering past life, discovering shadow work, discovering energy healing, discovering meditation, discovering all the different practices that you can find to bring awareness to yourself, to bring awareness to the now, to put you on a path of healing. And you may not be on a path of healing. If you're here and you're watching this, and you probably are on a path of healing, because that's what this channel is about. But there may also be people that will watch this that aren't actually on a path of healing, but something about the inner child or the trauma might bring them to this video. And the reason why they've been brought to this video is because there's something within you, within them, that needs to be healed. There's an element of healing that needs to go on within that, and that's why we're here today talking about this 12 minutes later. So so let's get back to it. So where were we? So we were talking about the development, the growth, the where we've been, the where we are now, the awareness, the presence, the bringing the realization of past lives into the now. But you're also healing on many other levels linearly as well. So you're existing in different lives, different lifetimes on a parallel at the same time. So there is fractals of your soul, of your energy, which is in other areas where healing needs to take place. So maybe you're watching this video now, and it's your inner child that needs to discover the healing, needs to discover the shadow work, needs to discover something, needs to bring joy into its day. But then another aspect of yourself, of your soul, which is in somebody else, maybe on the other side of the world, maybe another part of the universe, or another being entirely on the planet, then that energy needs to learn about something else. It needs to learn another aspect of your soul that needs to be healed, so then it can be brought when you come to pass over. The parts of those soul fragments can come back together, and that happens through various healing practices as well. You can bring them healing them fragments of those soul together to create more of a connected bond, to allow the healing overall to take place better. So, I mean, there's various things that we can carry through from inner child trauma. So there's like abandonment, there's neglect, there's guilt, there's fear, there's abuse, there's shouting, there's all that sort of negative trauma that can be linked to us, that can be connected to us. And I've always said in many videos before that spirituality and the spiritual path is very, very closely connected to the psychological path. Both energies are very, very clear, very, very closely linked together, and there's many aspects of the spiritual path that are deeply connected and deeply entrenched in the psychological messages that are in there. So how do we heal them and how do we release them? Well, first we need to kind of like understand what they are and where they've come from. So if you've got to that point and you've brought that level of awareness to the now, maybe you've even already got onto a path of healing and you've discovered something from your inner child or from your past, from your youth, that keeps cropping up now. And there's elements within it that keep sort of like niggling at you, or there's something in there that keeps giving you kind of a subliminal message. You might be aware of it, you might not. And that's where, because you're not aware of it, again, that comes down to your awareness. But when you are becoming aware of it and you're working on your awareness, you're working on your presence, and you're working on that connection to your spiritual self, you will feel that there was something within your life, within your day, within different things that happen week in, week out, where there will be a replay or a routine, or there will be something, there'll be an emotion, there'll be a trigger, there may be an argument, there may be a fight, there may be all these different negative things that can happen in each and every day will create a reaction within you. And it's being aware of that reaction. Once you become aware of the reaction, you can then start journaling. I've done three ways to start journaling. When you start journaling and you start writing down things that do make you trigger, things that make you react, things that make you do certain things in certain ways, or the way you speak to people, and the way you react to people, it's all a reaction, and it's all a release of something that needs to be exposed and it needs to be seen. So when you write this stuff down, as I mentioned in, I think, the last video that I did about healing anxiety or helping your anxiety, when you come to journal and you write this stuff down, you start to see a pattern. And I've said in that video, it's a little bit like cognitive behavior therapy, where you're analyzing and looking at the way you behave each day. So you're making a journal of things that you do each day, things that make you trigger, things that make you react, things that make you feel good, things that make you feel low, and you're finding that pattern, you're finding that balance within yourself. So you're looking at things that make you feel good, so you can focus on those elements of helping yourself to make you feel good and to make you feel of a higher vibration. But you also need to focus on the things that are bringing you down, because the things that are making you feel low, the things that are having an effect on you that day, the things that are making you trigger, the things that are making you react by different things. Maybe you start to overeat, maybe you start to drink, maybe you start to take recreational drugs, maybe you start connecting with the wrong people, maybe you start swearing, maybe you start getting violent, maybe you start getting anxious, maybe you start feeling depressed. All these are triggers within you that are reacting to a trauma that is within you, within your inner child, maybe within your shadow. And the shadow and the inner child and the trauma are all connected, because a lot of it, the ego, again, like we've said before in one of the shadow work videos that I did, the ego likes to hide that. It likes to put it behind and think, there's nothing to worry about there. That's gone, it's past. Move on. Everything's fine. 5, 10, 15, 20 years later down the line, something suddenly makes you go bump and you just hit a wall. Something makes you trigger, something makes you react, and you're like, well, where is this coming from? And not everybody will look at where it's coming from. Not everybody will think about that. And that's where we can look and heal the inner child, the trauma, and release it. Once we start to release it, it actually brings, because you're putting awareness and you're shining a light upon it, you can then bring more joy within your life. You can bring more laughter, you can bring more play, more imagination within your life, because you're actually healing aspects of yourself that have been crying out to be healed for years, maybe even a millennia, maybe from the very early incarnations of your soul. Something may have happened there, and you've carried it all the way through to now, where you've become aware of it, where you're starting to reveal it. You're starting to understand a little bit more about how energy works, because energy is everything. Well, let's just pull a few cards about how we can heal. There's two just dropped out. How we can heal the inner child, the trauma. Oh. Yes, four have just jumped out. So we've got the Page of Cups, we've got the Knight of Cups, we've got the Knight of Pentacles, and we've got the Queen of Pentacles. So I feel that them two need to go together, and them two need to go together because that's how they came out. And them ones, the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles came out first. The Page of Cups and Knight of Cups came out second. So I think what we're looking at here is we need to expose, we need to show, we need to discover the darkness within us. We need to look at it and we need to expose it. We need to be at peace with it as well. So it's not about pointing a finger or pointing blame. It's not about having any shame. It's not about putting any negative emotions or any negative thoughts over it, because we all have it. We all have elements of this that need to be healed within us. So it's about just having that acceptance and just be at one with it. And once you become more at one with it, you become more aware, because you're not throwing things at it, you're not throwing shade at it, you're not throwing shadow at it, you're not throwing negativity at it. You can see it for what it is. You become more aware. When you become more aware, you can bring more of a youth energy out. You can actually feel something from within, from your youth, starting to show itself, starting to move forward into your level of consciousness where you need to see it. Once you've seen it, you can then move forward and you can heal. You can start the journey. You can move forward with positivity, with pride, with strength, with power. And once you start to move through the various layers of healing, then what will happen is you will become more confident, you'll become more aware, because the layers that we do release and we heal bit by bit, when we become more aware of it, and our awareness and our healing journey is moving forward with strength and with power, we become much more comfortable within our own skin, much more comfortable within ourselves, so that we can actually look at things that actually maybe years ago would have disturbed you, because you don't want to look at elements of yourself like that. You don't want to see the person that is that. And you've got to a point now where you're actually like, no, you know what, just bring it on. Bring it on, because I want to look at every aspect of myself and be the best version I can of myself, so that when I move forward, when I move into the light, when I want to move through life, it will be a lot easier, because I'll be able to identify things within myself that need to be healed, that need to be exposed, that need to be revealed, so I can then look at it with more power, with more presence, and with more awareness. So that's just a few thoughts for today about the inner child, about shadow work, about the ego, and about how we can look at all of these within the bigger picture of how they can affect your healing journey moving forward. So I hope this video helps somebody on their healing journey. If it does, and if you've enjoyed the content and my chatting away, don't forget to give me one of them, a thumbs up, a bing, and also don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content. if you've enjoyed this, and don't forget to look at all my other videos that I've got on this channel, 400 and whatever it is, for lots more healing videos, meditations, things about crystals, tarot reads, lots of stuff on the channel. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy your time being here. It's lovely to have you here if you are a new viewer, and I will see you in the next video. Much love to you all. Take care of yourselves. Namaste. Bye for now.